Welcome back. All right, good news, everyone. It is time for me to take all of the logos of the teams and place them into one of these 9 squares on the board. No, they're all, it's even. It's very, I know how it looks on camera, but I measured it all out. Perfect squares, all 9 of them. Perfect. So the way this is done this year, I'm doing it a little bit different. And I did actually look it up online, because the way I did it last year, wasn't that happy with it, to be honest. So I wanted to do that this year, and so it's a little different. So I'll be grading them as great teams, good teams, or bad teams. Fun to watch, boring to watch, or frustrating to watch. Boring to watch is easier than frustrating to watch. Boring to watch is like, not very many whistles, game probably goes pretty fast, maybe a lot of whistles, the game goes slow, but there's a system in place. So there's fans right now going, I know where my team's going. I know. Right, yeah, you can get ahead of this. But there are fun, bad teams. The one thing I'm wondering is, I don't know that there's going to be a great team I put under frustrating to watch. In fact, great teams, there should be a limited amount of great teams. And with the amount of parity we're seeing this year, sure. And of course, I'm wearing my Planet Express Futurama jersey. That's the good news, everyone. All right. And I've got these in a random order. So Ottawa. I would consider Ottawa to be a good team. I don't consider them boring to watch, frustrating to watch necessarily. I would say fun to watch. I'm not going to put them too high up on the fun to watch side of things, I guess. Yeah, good team, fun to watch. Sure. I would say that for Ottawa. San Jose, definitely fun to watch. Also, I don't think they're a bad team anymore. I think San Jose qualifies as a good team that's also fun to watch. So there you go. San Jose takes a bit of an upgrade this year. So good team, fun to watch. Easy to follow, right? That's why there's the 9 evenly. Every square is the exact same size. Perfectly same size. Columbus. Oh, Columbus. I don't know that I'd qualify them as a bad team. I don't think I do. I don't think I see Columbus as a bad team. But they are frustrating to watch. Sometimes game to game, sometimes in the game that they're playing, sometimes, first period to third period is very different. I would qualify Columbus as frustrating to watch because sometimes they just have it and sometimes they really, really don't. There's a good team there, so thus them being under the good team side of things, but yeah. Washington, great team. They can be kind of boring to watch. It is this ongoing discussion of myself with Washington fans. They're a great team. I really believe that. Like, they're first right now in the East. They're playing really, really well in their systems, which can be a tough watch. Sometimes their games take 3 hours. Sometimes they're done in like a little over 2. It depends on which style they're playing that night. But yeah, I would say Washington can be a bit of a boring watch. But it works for them, right? So great team, boring watch. Shouldn't be insulting to people. Nashville. Does Nashville qualify as fun to watch? I wouldn't say boring. I mean, they're under the bad team category, being that far down in the standings, right? Their games aren't normally boring, though. Frustrating? Nah, I'll go with fun to watch. Yeah, I think of the 9 columns, I think that's the best place for them. Yeah, they're kind of a bad team, but fun watch. The games can change on a dime, sometimes against them, sometimes for them, but doesn't mean they're boring, and it doesn't make it frustrating to watch. I would imagine, too, and I'm saying this as somebody that's, talking about teams that I don't cheer for or against, might be more frustrating for Nashville fans to watch them right now, but I'm just speaking of myself when the games are on. I do find Nashville games are kind of fun to watch, even though the team's not all that great. Rangers. They're a good team. Frustrating to watch. The Rangers seem to be starting to figure it out. And I do still think by the time the season's done, they should be above the playoff line. They're at least good enough to be a top 8 team in the East. But frustrating to watch, yeah. From one moment to the next can be very frustrating to watch. Montreal, at this point, I feel like Montreal belongs under frustrating to watch. Good team. Not great team, but good team. And I think they're a frustrating one to watch too, depending on the game. Yeah. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Montreal, I feel like that's pretty obvious. They've had this bad run for about a month. What about New Jersey? So, when Jack Hughes is on this team, a lot of fun to watch. And I'd even go as far as to say great team. But without Jack Hughes, they're kind of a bad team. If you look at the numbers without Jack Hughes since he got injured, right now, as I'm recording this, I would say bad team. And I don't know how Devils fans feel about that, but I do feel like bad team and frustrating to watch because they shouldn't be a bad team. They shouldn't be down here. This shouldn't be Jack Hughes is back, they're all of a sudden going to be up here. And yet that's basically how it works. With Jack Hughes in the lineup, they're over here. Without Jack Hughes, they're down here. Couldn't be any more different than that. All of a sudden they're a bad team and they're frustrating to watch because they shouldn't be a bad team. They absolutely shouldn't. The LA Kings, depends on the game with the Kings. I do feel like they're a good team. They're still boring. The Kings generally are still a boring watch for the most part. So yeah, for me, the LA Kings, I think, belong under good team. A little boring to watch, a little tough. So when you've got teams that are boring against each other, it can be a lot. The Anaheim Ducks, and I can't say great team for the Ducks. And yet they're first in their division, right? So did they belong in a great team? I'm going to say no. But good team, fun to watch. Yep. You'll notice I'm leaving more room in this column. I should move these up just so that it all looks the same. Just for that sameness factor. Yeah. All right. I think that works better. But the Ducks, good team, fun to watch. Absolutely. Young team, a lot of fun. So this is very different for California to have both Anaheim and San Jose as good teams that are fun to watch. Last year, if I had done it this way, and I wish I had, to be honest, it is much easier to do it this way. What I did was I looked up on the internet, like, how can I, chart this out? And I found a chart that was for something completely different, but works. It was for movies. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's like watching a movie when you're watching a game, except you probably don't know the ending of the game. You can usually guess the ending of the movie. Minnesota. Great team. They're not boring either. Yeah, I would say Minnesota at this point in time. I could say great team. Maybe great goaltending. But fun to watch? Yeah. And there have been years where they're boring to watch. But as long as they got Kaprizov in the lineup, they're not boring to watch. And when Wallsted's putting up a bunch of shutouts, that does definitely up some of the entertainment factor. Just that, is he going to allow a goal? And he doesn't. Kind of thinking. They can be boring at times, you're right. They can absolutely, and in years past, I would have no problem putting Minnesota under boring. But this year, I don't get bored watching Minnesota games like previous seasons. Philadelphia. Very often, Philadelphia games can be low shots, low high danger. This is part of the Rick Tocchet plan. But notice I'm not putting them under boring or under bad team. I've got Philadelphia under good team. So Rick Tocchet's doing something right here. But they can be a boring watch. Absolutely. Philadelphia, it can be tough. There are some low scoring games in the NHL, which can be fun, but at times a lot less fun. And for me, watching games, there are nights where I look at the matchups and I go, oh, those teams are against each other. Oh, this is going to be a long night. This maybe I need a pillow while I'm watching these games. Seattle. Seattle's kind of got to go under frustrating to watch, don't they? And I don't know that I can qualify them as a good team right now. I would go with bad team right now. They've lost a bunch of games in a row in regulation. They're just very all over the place. It's hard to find a positive with Seattle right now. So I'm going to put them under bad team right now as of December 9th. Just saying. Because what happens is I'll do these videos and then like a couple weeks later somebody will come in. I can't believe you got this team here. And it's like, okay, this can change. So, and I'll go this far. If people enjoy this video today and they want to see me do this once a month, I can do this once a month. I can. Toronto. Oh, is Toronto a good team or a bad team this year? Because this is an argument. This is an argument on the internet. That are they a good team or a bad team? I would say they're a good team. Frustrating to watch? Yeah, they can be frustrating to watch. There's too much talent for them to have such a mediocre record. They're starting to fight their way out of it. Hopefully it's sustainable this time. I don't think there's any excuse for them not to at least be, up against the great team side of things. But frustrating to watch? Absolutely. Is Winnipeg a good team? Huh. Is Winnipeg a good team? They can't be in the great team category. There are Winnipeg fans watching this and going, we're a bad team right now. Without Hellebuck, they've lost a bunch of games. I'm going to go with bad team, frustrating to watch. Right now, as we're recording this, yeah, I do feel like that's where Winnipeg belongs right now. What a difference it makes without Hellebuck. And, yeah, so I'm going to put Winnipeg under frustrating to watch. That's 7 teams under frustrating to watch. Interesting. The Flames. I would say, I honestly, I still don't think they're a great team, but God, they're fun to watch. Last night's game against Buffalo, while it took forever, when the hockey was being played, it was pretty entertaining to watch. The Flames are playing some fun hockey right now. So this is where if you're looking for games to watch, and if you're like me and you don't really care if it's 2 teams you root for. In fact, before the channel started, there were nights where I'd be like, you know what, the Canucks are just, I can't watch that crap right now. And I would intentionally pick a game between 2 teams that I don't root for or against. I would say that if you have a chance to watch the fun-to-watch teams against each other, even if you don't have an emotional investment in it, you might enjoy that hockey more than the frustrating team that you're currently following. Just saying. Vegas. I think Vegas is still a great team. I think they're still a great team there, but frustrating to watch. Vegas should be better than their record. They absolutely should. This is a team that has a really strong roster, both forward group, defense. I think their goaltending, the addition of Hart, once Hill is able to come back, if/when that happens, the longer it goes on, the more it's like, if, right? But, I mean, outside of the goaltending, and Schmid's been okay. It's frustrating because Vegas, not great 3-on-3. And those comebacks, they shouldn't be relying on comebacks. And it feels like they rely on comebacks a little bit too much. Chicago. Oh, if I was doing this a few weeks ago, Chicago would have been under a good team, fun to watch. Right now, I'll put them under bad team, frustrating to watch, because Chicago's advanced numbers, their analytics, not great. Analytics have been calling for the downfall of Chicago for weeks now, and it's started to happen. So I would say that at this point in time, they qualify as kind of frustrating to watch, more than fun to watch. Just some missed opportunities there. Boston. I can't pretend Boston's fun to watch. They're hardworking, but it can be boring. It can be a bit of a slog, watching a Boston game at this point in time. Yeah, I would say Boston. Good team. And Marco Sturm deserves all the credit in the world for the fact they're still a good team. I think he's getting the most out of these players that any coach could. But are they boring? Yeah. Yeah, I would say boring. Tampa. During the 7-game winning streak, fun to watch, great team. Now they've lost 4 in a row. And they've been shut out a couple of times in those, because they were shut out by Sorokin and the Islanders, and then last night by Hildeby and the Leafs, right? Oh, do I say Tampa's a great team? Frustrating to watch? I would say with the ups and downs, and just the tremendous ups and downs. Look at that, all those frustrating to watch. I'm starting to understand why sometimes at the end of these nights where there's 13, 14 games on, I'm just exhausted. Maybe it's a frustration level thing. I don't know. The fun to watch is definitely being outgunned by the frustrating to watch at this point, isn't it? Part of this too is that there's so many mediocre records at this point that frustrating to watch is going to be very prominent because there are so many teams that it feels like should probably have better records than they do. Florida. I think Florida's been good. And I will say Florida games are generally fun to watch. Now, it might be more fun for Florida fans with them starting to turn it around than it has been prior. But I do think Florida games have generally been fun to watch. And I think they're a good team. Once they get healthy, we can put them back under great team. I would not put Florida under great team right now. Good team, sure. Great team, I I can't get there. Dallas, great team, fun to watch. I'm having the most fun watching Dallas games I have in ages. Just so much fun. The Dallas Stars are just, they're the gift that keeps on giving for Dallas fans, and it's been fantastic. It really has. Utah. Is Utah a good team or a bad team at this point in time? Now, they're without Cooley, so that's not going to help. I would still say Utah's kind of fun to watch, though. I still think they're a fun team to watch. But are they a good team? Yeah, I'll be nice. I'll say good team, fun to watch for Utah. But they're flirting with bad team at this point, I think. Yeah, so I'll put Utah under good team, fun to watch, because their games generally are pretty fun overall. The Islanders, good team, but their games can be kind of boring. The good news is Islander games are generally pretty fast. You don't get a lot of whistles, as I always say. You don't get a lot of penalties either with the style of hockey they play. But that game's done. That game, they act like they're renting the ice by the hour, and they don't have enough money for that third hour. So, got to get that game done. So, I do appreciate that part of it, but Islander games can be kind of boring. So, if you have any combination of Washington, LA, Philadelphia, Boston, or the Islanders, have a cup of coffee handy. Be ready to play some games on your phone here and there if you need to keep yourself alert. But yeah, and I don't qualify boring as being an insult either. That's just it's part of the systems that teams employ. It just sometimes it's not a lot of fun to watch. Detroit. I mean, they're first in their division. If I put them under bad team, Detroit fans are gonna be like, and dislike. I would say they're a good team. I would say fun to watch. I can't put them under frustrating because they haven't made the playoffs in a long time. So the fact that, like last night against Vancouver, they won that game. Maybe they shouldn't have. Gibson was great. We'll see if he follows that up when he's not playing against the Canucks with another good game. But yeah, I think Detroit's fun to watch, and I think they're a good team. St. Louis. Man, St. Louis games have been tough to get through. And I would even go as far as to say that St. Louis, if you look at them on paper, not a great team. So I'm going to put them under bad team, kind of boring to watch. Understanding they're not that far from a playoff spot, but I think they've only won 11 of their games so far this year. I think that with Jim Montgomery behind the bench, you're going to get some wins that maybe otherwise you wouldn't. But yeah, I can't look at the St. Louis Blues roster right now with some of the injuries they have and say, oh yeah, no, great team. Snugger's out for a while. They're also without Kyrou, and they were already below the playoff line before those. So yeah, I don't think that'll upset St. Louis fans too much. The boring to watch, bad team part of things. Vancouver is also, man, some of these Vancouver games. I understand Adam Foote. I understand why he's been brought in. I also understand why the Canucks are playing a boring style of hockey. They do not have that top end talent, so they're going to have to play those really kind of boring games. They're trying to grind out points. It's good that these players are picking up some good habits, but the Canucks aren't going to win very many games. I can't put them under good team. I can't, because they're just objectively they're just not a good team right now. Colorado. Well, this one's easy, isn't it? Great team, fun to watch. Nobody scores 5-on-5 more than the Colorado Avalanche. Honestly, the Avs have been playing some of the best hockey that any team has in a regular season ever. So it'd be kind of impossible for me to put them under boring because they score a bunch of goals. It'd be hard for me to put them under anything but great team because they lead everybody by a lot. So while Dallas is kind of close to Colorado, nobody else is. So yeah, Carolina. Carolina can be boring. Carolina, absolutely, and it is the style that Rod Brind'Amour has in play. One of the, and I'm not going to put them under frustrating, but it can be frustrating to me is this Carolina team. If they were coached the way Colorado is, I think they'd score about the same amount of goals. I do. No proof of that, just vibes, completely just vibes. But Carolina, it can be tough to watch their games at times. It can. Low shot totals, and very few opportunities. I do understand that's the way coaches like it. Coaches are really appreciative of the defensive aspect of the game, That's why whenever scoring comes up, I will always say scoring will come back down, because that's generally how coaches approach things. They want to see that defensive aspect really shored up. No coach enjoys the 8-6 wins. They much more enjoy a 2-1 win. I'm not sure why, but that's where we're at. Pittsburgh. I would say good team for Pittsburgh, and they're a fun watch right now. It's fun to see Sidney Crosby out there doing his thing. We don't know how much longer Sidney Crosby is going to be in the National Hockey League, so we should enjoy this and embrace it, and embrace what might be Pittsburgh's last hurrah. Maybe they make it to the playoffs, and we see them go on a run like in 2012 New Jersey did for Marty Brodeur. So maybe that's where things are headed with Pittsburgh. And of course, if you're a Penguins fan, you're going to say, well, yeah, but the Devils didn't win the Cup. No, but still, it was a nice long run there. And it was that last hurrah for Marty Brodeur. Maybe we're seeing that with the Penguins this year. Buffalo. So bad team, frustrating to watch. I think we can all agree with that with Buffalo. I've had some ideas for a Buffalo video lately. I don't know if people are necessarily maintaining their sense of humor in the Buffalo market, because the idea that I have is generally one of those comedic style videos that I like to do every now and then. Yeah, Buffalo, it's been frustrating. I'm frustrated for Buffalo fans. So if I get frustrated, like every time they play a good game, what do I say? I want them to build on this, but we kind of know they don't. So yeah, Buffalo's been frustrating. Edmonton, they seem to be getting it together. But yeah, they're starting to get it together. I'm thinking of their most recent games. I'm gonna be generous and put the Oilers under good team and fun to watch. Now that they're back to being like we're used to the Oilers being. Now, if this follows in line with like panic index stuff, that means the boring teams are gonna have a bunch of goals in their games tonight. And then the ones that are fun to watch are going to be really low scoring. So, great team, fun to watch. Minnesota, Dallas, and Colorado. So, the 3 top teams in the Central. Great team, boring to watch. Washington and Carolina, the teams fighting for first in the Metro. Great teams, frustrating to watch. Vegas and Tampa, who have been all over the place in the standings this year. Good team, fun to watch. Ottawa, San Jose, Anaheim, Florida. What's that? Ottawa's more frustrating to watch than that? Fine. All right, we'll put Ottawa down here. I hear the Ottawa fans already. I'm looking at this and going, Ottawa fans aren't going to be happy with that. And they're not wrong. It's been frustrating to me watching Ottawa recently, so sure, we'll do that. Is there room in this column? Can I make room in this column? Let me try. I want to see if I can get all 5 of them lined up here without touching the line. I can. I did it. Barely touching the line. Barely. All right. So that's 7. San Jose, Anaheim, Florida, Oilers, Utah, Detroit, and Pittsburgh under good teams, fun to watch, with the Mammoth kind of straddling the line here to bad team at this point. Boring to watch, good teams, LA, Philadelphia, Boston, and the Islanders. Boston proves and Vancouver as well proves I'm willing to say teams that I root for are boring. Frustrating to watch, Columbus, Rangers, Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. So that's 3 Canadian teams there. Bad team, fun to watch. I have Nashville and Calgary. Even the game they played against each other was pretty entertaining. Boring to watch, bad teams. I have St. Louis and Vancouver there. Frustrating to watch, bad teams. New Jersey right now, bad team. Seattle right now. Winnipeg also in the right now category. And Chicago and Buffalo. So there you go. I think that's pretty accurate. And I think that makes for a pretty clear board. Whereas the way I did it last year, a little less clear. Needed some more clarification in the comments. Shouldn't need that this year. So with these 9 perfect squares that are absolutely perfectly squared off, and if it looks wrong on your screen, it's AI. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, hit like and subscribe in the event that you may not have done so already. That being said, I'm done for now. I will talk to you again soon.